Wednesday morning, beautiful Wednesday morning. God bless you and good morning, and welcome to another morning of Rise and Shine with Cumberland County. This is a program that this county started, I think, the end of last year, and we've been going every month. We have this program every second and fourth Wednesday of the month. Rise and Shine, and what we focus on is resources that the county provides, and we're glad to be able to bring this to you. We bring different resources available, many of which the citizens really don't know about it, and so we want to talk about that this morning, what we've really been doing. And you need to call somebody, tell somebody, be sure that everyone around you is aware of what's being presented this morning. WIDU, a radio station that's knowledge-based and issue-driven, and we're bringing information that the county, the citizens need to know about. Especially now, one key word that we bring out a lot is a lot of things that's free to us, available to us, that we might not even be aware of. So you really want to capture that. And to know that who's presenting this information to you, I'm Co-Pastor Al McAllister with WIDU Ministries.
Good morning. I'm Senior Pastor Teresa McAllister of Rafa Ministries.
And I'm Youth Pastor Stephanie White, and we're all glad to be here with WIDU.
Well, we got a good one for you again today. Again, we have a lot of different organizations on from the county, a lot from the health department, from the police department, and other organizations. And this morning, I think it's been a long time, but now we have the Board of Commissioners with us this morning. Mm-hmm. That organization that affects the entire county. Some part of your life is affected by what we're going to talk about this morning. So again, we are blessed to have with us District 2 Commissioner, Mr. Tyson. Mr. Tyson, Henry Tyson, thank you for being with us this morning. And I think we're going to have a call in from the chairman of the Commissioner Board in a little while. But right now, we want to get started with what we have. And again, we thank you for coming to share with us. I know your time is busy, but you're pausing to share with the county things that the Board of Commissioners are doing, what's going on now. So we got a lot to talk about. We want to talk about what's going on now, what's happened a little bit in the past, and what's going to happen in the future. And we're going to ask you to help us with that so the community will feel empowered because of the knowledge that you're bringing forth to us. Mr. Tyson, tell us a little bit about yourself, what district you're from, and a little bit about you.
Yes, sir. So first of all, I want to just say thank you to WIDU and to the family. They always do such a good job, the station here, on getting the information out to the community, and always so gracious to have us here. And I know my fellow colleagues send their regards. I got a message from the vice chair. She had a conflict, but I know she would be here if she could.
Absolutely.
And we're expecting that the chairman's going to be calling in, so excited to hear from him. But as you said, my name's Henry Tyson. I'm a Cumberland County native, born and raised here, been here my whole life. And graduated high school here, went off to college for a little bit, but just in Harnett over there at Campbell.
Okay.
But I have the honor and privilege to represent District 2 on the Board of Commissioners. But I'll tell you something, really, as a county commissioner, my district's District 2, but the decisions that we make affect our county in general.
Right.
And so you really have to keep that in mind and keep that perspective in mind, as you move through. And so, that's what I've tried to do since I came on the board. And, we've really worked together as this board, identify need. As you can imagine, there's a lot of need in Cumberland County, a lot of things and a lot of improvements that we've been working on.
Yes.
From schools to clean, safe drinking water, to all the investments that we've been making really to move our county forward. And I'm really excited to be able to talk to you about those today.
Now, Mr. Tyson, one of the things that we want to focus a lot on this, which was great, I was looking at the topic, talking about the fiscal year budget for 2027 has been adopted. I know that's a big thing because they get a budget through. But for the ones that may not be aware, that civic class was a long time ago we had for some of us, help us understand the things that the Board of Commissioners, what do they affect? What's some of the things that you take care of as a Board of Commissioners? Then we're going to move right into that budget.
Absolutely. So really, it's a lot that affects everybody's everyday life. I
mean, you mentioned the schools.
We fund the schools for their operational budget and their capital needs. So that's a requirement that we have as the county. Clean, safe water and access to sewer. That's something we've been working on. Really, the big thing that we're in is health and human services. We're the lead agency for the DSS, Department of Social Services, for our health department. Public safety, we work with the sheriff on adopting a budget So, really every aspect, we're the lead agency in emergency management. So anytime that a disaster strikes, the county's going to be the first response out there, boots on the ground, managing that incident. The legislature makes sure that we do that. So, really there's a lot that encompasses and touches most of the people's lives every day that we really have input and impact into.
And what most people don't know is those key areas you name is what affect cities as far as businesses coming in. When businesses trying to come into a city, when we're talking about growth of Fayetteville, et cetera, those items that you name, organizations, companies, large companies, they're looking for the school systems, the type of school system you have. They're looking for the sewage, the water. That's a big thing right now going on with the data plants want to come into the cities is the water system, because those data plants take up a lot of water. So those items those are key items that you manage that affect the very growth of Fayetteville.
Yes, sir, and I'm glad you brought that up. The board recently adopted a moratorium for our data centers, and there was a lot of discussion about that. We got a lot of community input, and really what we're doing as a board is being very deliberate.
Okay.
We're going through, we're doing our due diligence.
Yes.
And we put together a 6-month pause on any new development. We didn't really have codes and ordinances that directly address this kind of development.
Okay.
And our community was very clear that they wanted their board to address this. And so as we move through this process, we're going to continue to engage the community. We're going to continue to work with stakeholders. Now, one thing I'll tell you is we can't ban the use outright.
Okay.
That's not
That's
allowed.
beyond yours.
Yeah. So we cannot say you cannot have this use at all. But
Okay.
we can regulate it.
Okay.
And so the state gives us the power to do that. So understanding that we have limits in government and we have to play within those limits, but also, we're going to be very methodical as we move through that and very deliberate. And I hope that the public has seen that we've been very deliberate on that.
And I'm sure they can appreciate.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about this budget because that's a big thing. The county budget is one of the most important responsibilities that the Board of Commissioners have because, again, you're talking about the funds that's going to make or break or limit anything. The budget reflects the community's priorities and helps to determine how services are delivered within the city. The process includes months of planning, department requests, physical analysis, public input, and board discussion. So I understand you recently passed the fiscal year budget. Is that correct?
We did yesterday.
That is awesome. So what great time it is to be able to talk about one of the most important things that could happen in the city that just happened with the Board of Commissioners.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Pastor Teresa?
Again, the Board of Commissioners passed the fiscal year 2027 budget. But for listeners who may not be familiar with the local government, what exactly does the county budget fund?
Absolutely. So let's take one step back on this fiscal year, and let's talk a little bit about last fiscal year.
Okay.
Because we got to kind of know where we've been to know where we're going.
Okay.
So last year coming onto the board, it was the first budget that I was involved with, and what we saw was that there was a lot of need. We had an $806 million deficiency from our Board of Education in deferred maintenance, and also a new school construction need. Some of our schools in the county are over 100 years old.
Wow.
Ooh-wee.
So coming into that, we budget for that, and we took the initiative, the board took the initiative as a bold step that we fully funded education last year's budget. And we wanted to set a precedence of the importance that it is to educate our young people and that they do so in clean, modern, safe facilities that are updated. So, we took that bold step. In the interim, we had the school board met. They kind of digested that. They went through a process to look at facility utilization and things like that. So they came back this year and said, hey, we really need to see if you guys would consider upping that allocation for our capital. And we did. So we allocated additional funding towards additional new school construction. So we're excited about that.
Yes.
And we're excited that we can work with the school board to implement their plan because they're going to tell us how to do it.
Okay.
We're going to fund them and fund to their plan. But ultimately, it's the two boards working together and collaborating that's really going to help bolster our education needs in the county. So I'm excited about that. The water and sewer infrastructure, it was $2.5 billion was the estimate for us to come in and deliver countywide water and sewer services.
$2.5 billion.
$2.5 billion was what the estimate was. And so coming into that, we all know we've had a contamination issue.
Yes.
We've got not just, and this isn't just a Grace Creek issue, and some people think that, but when you look at how really that contamination occurred, it being airborne, it affects the city of Fayetteville residents.
Yes.
Right now, there's Gen X in the city of Fayetteville's water. Now, they're working to address it.
Yes.
But, this is a county issue, and it's a county-wide issue. So the board last year, we did $250 million that we put in our capital investment fund for our water and sewer districts.
Okay.
But also, in between last year's budget and this year's budget, we've actually looked at increasing our capacity, because it starts with the capacity that you can deliver to the residents. So we're hosting stakeholder meetings to incorporate new water and sewer districts. We're collaborating with our smaller municipalities in the county to see if there's synergies and services that the county can provide. And we're working with our partners at PwC and the city to make sure that we are delivering on making sure that everyone in this county has clean, safe drinking water and access.
That's so important. Pastor White, help us out with our next one.
As we go forward into the next question, I just wanted to know if you could, for the listening audience, kind of explain what you mean by capital.
So the capital would just be the buildings, like building new buildings or investing into existing infrastructure that's aged and it's reached its life cycle. So, just like at your house, when your air conditioning gets old and you got to replace it, governments and especially the Board of Education is not immune to that.
Right.
So if you've got a 40-year-old air conditioner in a school that keeps breaking and the kids keep having to go to school in 100-degree weather outside and it's 90 degrees in the classroom, that's going to affect their ability to learn. And so we can't just go, hey, we're going to put a Band-Aid on this. We need to invest to replace that capital
So special.
so that those kids can focus on what it is they're there to do, which is to learn.
Makes sense.
Thank you. I believe we have our chairman, Commissioner Kirk Deviere on the line. Are you there, sir?
Good morning. It's been great to hear the dialogue. Commissioner Tyson's doing a wonderful job highlighting what we do as a county in this current budget.
Absolutely doing a great job educating us from the moment he stepped in the room. Thank you for joining us, Chairman Deviere. And let me ask you this as we're talking about the budget. How long does the budget process typically take? Sometimes it seems like we're hearing about matters related to budget for quite some time. But what does that process look like as far as the length of time, and who's involved in developing the budget before it even reaches the board for adoption?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is almost a year-long process. So as soon as this budget that we just approved yesterday is put to bed and approved, staff will begin leaning forward probably around September, October, after they finalize the audit. They will begin the process working with all the department heads, working with all the different agencies that we're associated with that flow into our budget to begin to look at next year's budget. And then, the management team and the budget team work all the way through that. And then they compile what they call a recommended budget, a manager's recommended budget that comes to us sometime in May, like it did this year. And then the commissioners begin to work through their process. One thing that I will say is along the way, the management team, we do a budget workshop on the front side to better understand where the board's priorities are and, any direction or any questions the manager may have as he's beginning to put together his budget. Did an incredible job this year, looking at blending our direction and guidance with some things that he knew he needed to do at his level to present us a solid manager's recommendation, and then the board worked through to get to the final budget. Normally, once it gets to the board, it's about a 1 to 1.5 month, 2 month process. I think Commissioner Patel estimated we spent between 40 and 50 hours worth of meetings yesterday just with the commissioners to get to this final budget.
Wow. My goodness. Just kind of a sidebar, as we know the budget was passed, when does it begin being enacted and being used?
1 July, it's in effect.
1 July. All right. I wonder when we might see some changes and benefits of that budget.
Yes.
We'll look forward to seeing that. Let me ask you this. What are some common misconceptions residents might have about the county budget as we look to see when it's coming through? What are some things we misunderstand often about it?
I think a lot of times, the general public, which is so important doing shows like this to help educate and inform the public. I think a lot of times, the city of Fayetteville and the other municipalities are passing their budget at the same time. You've got a state budget that's moving through. I think understanding what counties or cities or towns or states actually fund, understand where the money comes from, things that impact everyday citizens, as well as I think the biggest thing that citizens probably look at is, are my taxes going up? And one thing that I'm proud of is even with all the downward pressures and unfunded mandates and additional costs that we saw coming down from the federal government and state, we were able to hold our tax rate at 49.9, which we made an incredible decrease last year in that, 6 cents below revenue neutral, a drop of over 30 cents in our tax rate after the reeval. And we were able to hold that rate at 49.9 this year, even in ensuring that we can maintain the level of services that we need to provide to our residents.
Yes. One more question, Commissioner. How do you ensure the budget reflects the needs of the entire county?
And that's a great question. And it starts with our strategic plan. And that's rooted in the priorities of the commission. And you got to remember, the commission is made up of people from 2 districts. So we have 2 districts as well as at-large members that represent the entire county. And I think we take feedback from the community. We are elected by the people based on their priorities, and we bring those priorities into the strategic plan. And then the manager shapes the budget around the strategic plan and our priorities. And then the commissioners do the same thing. We ensure that our priorities and the community's priorities are rooted in that budget. And that's how it trickles down. Look, we know we've got to have good schools. We've got to have strong health and human services. We've got to have public safety. And we've got to have good infrastructure. That's what's rooted in that budget. And I believe, people want to ensure they keep as much money in their pocket as they can. So we're maintaining that tax rate at the lowest possible rate.
Let me drop this on you, Commissioner, because this affects directly you. With every commissioner, quite naturally, and Commissioner Tyson was sharing how we try to work together, using that word collaboration. But I know while each commissioner is trying to look at the city, the county as a whole, you still try to represent your constituents. So that drops the load on you of trying to be sure the balance is drawn out. How do you let each commissioner represent their district, but as they're trying to do, because they're hearing from their constituents, but at the same time bring that balance?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one thing I'm very proud of this board, whether it's members that have been on there for many years or even the new ones with me that came aboard, we focus on the county as a whole. Every resident matters. There's not turf politics. We focus on the entire county because what helps somebody else in one area is going to help somebody else in another. So I'm very proud of the community. And what I try to do at the chairman's level is engage and maintain communications and collaboration with our town mayors, with our city of Fayetteville mayor, with our, with Hope Mills and Spring Lake and all the smaller municipality mayors to ensure that we have a relationship with them and that we're working together. And that also gives us another mechanism to hear from the community, from the entire county, because they represent those areas as well. And another touch point that we have is also Fort Bragg. We have one of the largest military populations in the nation, and ensuring we understand the military and veteran voice is important, and we do that. I routinely meet with the garrison commander as well as the Lieutenant General Anderson, the post commander, to ensure that we're taking care of military families and veterans and identifying that voice into the conversation as well.
I'm sure your day is full every day, 7 days a week. With that awareness of the demand that's on you, Chairman Deviere, let me ask you this. What are the services or the programs that are experiencing increased demand?
Yeah, and hopefully Commissioner Tyson can tie into some of this as well. I know he's in studio.
Yes.
I will say, one of the biggest things that we're probably seeing now is around our public health and human services. When we look at a lot of the changes that are happening at the federal and state level, whether it's Medicaid, SNAP, a lot of the benefits that are impacting the most vulnerable in our community, we're seeing a lot of changes, and we're trying to react to those changes to make sure there's a level of service that is maintained to our residents. I think that's one of the biggest things that we're looking at, as well as our infrastructure. We've got to build out, our water and sewer infrastructure so that we can have growth in our community, both from a residential and industrial.
I'm going to turn it over to co-pastor. We're going to take a quick break. Chairman Deviere, thank you for your input and sharing this morning about that timeline and what the demands look like, especially with public health. We know that's a big concern for many in our community.
I hope you can stay on the line, Commissioner.
I'm here, but please, Commissioner Tyson is doing a great job in studio.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That's the next question.
Again, you listen to Rise and Shine Cumberland County, and again, we bring this every second and fourth Wednesday. That's one program that's been produced by the commissioners to make sure the community is very much aware. And even as Commissioner mentioned, dialogue information helps you better understand the job. We're going to take a quick break, then we're going to come back with Commissioner Kirk Deviere and Commissioner Tyson, Ingrid Tyson, as we continue part 2 of this great show. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back.
NCN News. I'm Mike Riley. North Carolina lawmakers advanced a revised involuntary commitment reform bill on Tuesday aimed at keeping criminally involved people from cycling between jails, courts, and hospitals while keeping the public safe. Representative Timothy Reeder of Pitt County is one of the bill's sponsors.
One of the challenges is that people who have criminal behavior and have mental illness never get evaluated fully, and they linger in our jails and in our mental institutions, in our prisons, because they're not getting treated.
The Senate, for the first time, has approved a war powers resolution to block U.S. military action against Iran. Tuesday's vote comes as lawmakers watch President Donald Trump's efforts to resolve the conflict. On the war front, International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Mario Grossi emphasized the inspections in Iran will take place if progress is made in the Iran-U.S. deal.
Whether this happens the day after tomorrow or in 1 week or in 10 days, it's important but not essential. This is going to happen. Of course, if they want to comply with the agreement. If they don't want, it's another matter.
The state auditor's office found the North Carolina Division of Employment Security distributed $47.2 million in fraudulent unemployment payments between 2021 and 2025. State Auditor Dave Bullock told CBS 17.
North Carolina had an abysmal rate of recovery and issuing payments that were not appropriate.
Asheville is putting a new data center development on hold for the next year. During an Asheville City Council meeting last night, Asheville City resident Eric Olson told the council,
I understand the fears about water, about energy demands, about noise, about neighborhood fit. They're all legitimate, but they're not reasons to disarm ourselves, and we clearly need to regulate and negotiate aggressively.
You're listening to NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. The Fayetteville City Council adopted the city's fiscal year 2027 budget, approving a $327.3 million operating budget and a $117 million capital improvement plan while maintaining the current property tax rate. The fiscal year 2027 operating budget supports the delivery of core municipal services while advancing the City Council's strategic priorities, including community safety, economic growth, housing and neighborhood revitalization, and transportation and connectivity improvements throughout the city. On June 23rd, the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office Special Investigations Unit executed a search warrant in the 4,000 block of Marshwood Lake Road. As a result, 52-year-old Gary Lee Mishaw of Fayetteville was arrested and charged with maintaining, dwelling, or place for controlled substance and possession with intent to manufacture, sell, deliver Schedule II controlled substance, manufacture Schedule II controlled substance, and possession of firearm by a felon. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
Starting out this morning, feeling pretty good. Humidity levels will gradually drop from north to south as we go from morning to afternoon. So it's a more manageable heat out there. Temperatures reaching the mid to upper 80s this afternoon under a mostly sunny to at times partly cloudy sky. Overnight, it's partly cloudy with temperatures mostly in the 60s across the board. Thursday, a hotter and slightly more humid day. Highs in the upper 80s and lower 90s. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center.
Hurricane season begins June 1st, and in Fayetteville, we don't wait for a storm to hit before we take action. Preparedness starts today. Now is the time to build your emergency kit, restock fresh water, and review your family's evacuation plan. Don't let a severe storm catch your household off guard. Know your risk, stay informed, and look out for your neighbors. Find more information at fayetteville.nc.gov/readyfay. Together, let's be ready, Faye.
Hello, my name is Pastor G.M. Thompson, the pastor of New Beginning Christian Faith Center. We're located at 4326 Coventry Road. Our order of services are, we have Sunday morning Sunday school at 9:30 a.m., morning worship at 11 a.m. We have Wednesday Bible class at 7 p.m. Our motto is, it's all about God. You're welcome anytime. Come and join us. You will be blessed of the Lord.
This is Pastor Neil of New Covenant Christian Faith Church Ministry, and you are listening to Wake Up.
It's time again for your conference, CCFM Conference 2026, Wednesday, June 24th through Saturday, June 27th at the Florence Center, Florence, South Carolina. We will welcome Apostle Joshua Giles, Pastor T. Renee Glenn, Dr. Darius Daniels, Pastor John F. Hanna, Bishop Melvin Lambert, Bishop Bobby Hilton, and our psalmists, Pastor Smokey Norfolk, Pastor Wendy Wyatt, Pastor Naomi Rain, Pastor Lillian Lloyd. Yes, this is your conference. CCFM Conference 2026 at the Florence Center. Admission is free, but registration has major advantages. For more information, go to ccfmnation.org, ccfmnation.org. You don't want to miss the King's Summit CCFM Conference 2026, June 24th through the 27th. Come hungry for God's presence.
God bless you again. Thank you for staying tuned. Again, you're listening to the radio talk show, Rise and Shine Cumberland County, a talk show that we created over 6 months ago now. And thank God for the commissioners that saw fit to make sure that we in this county are well informed of the resources and available that's to us. And this morning we're talking a lot about the fiscal year budget that was adopted on yesterday, which is tremendous news. And I don't think there's been any increases in taxes, so that's humongous news. And again, we have with us online Commissioner Kurt Deviere, and we have in-house with us in the studio, District 2 Commissioner, Mr. Henry Tyson. Before Pastor Teresa come with the next question, give us for the people say, we heard you, but we didn't catch all of it. How can we contact you?
Absolutely. So I would encourage it by email. It would be htyson@cumberlandcountync.gov. You can also call me directly, 910-678-7771. But I'd also encourage, please go on our website, cumberlandcountync.gov, and specifically for the budget, it would just be /budget. But I'll tell you one other way that, and this is one of my favorite ways that people come, is you could actually have a public comment period every month for a board. So you can sign up with the board clerk, and you can come to the third Monday night meeting of the month and come, and you get 3 minutes to just say, hey, this is what I have going on. Can you look at this? And I know for me, I really enjoy that. I take notes, very detailed notes, and follow up and really take those concerns seriously.
That's awesome. So when is that again?
It's the third Monday night of the month.
Third Monday night at the board, right there at the Board of Commissioners meeting.
It starts at 6:45.
Okay, that's good information to know.
Room 118 at the courthouse. Yes,
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Tyson, again, thank you for being here. And what are the board's long-term goals beyond this budget year?
Absolutely. So I know we've kind of touched on that, and kind of coming into office, I think this board's really set the multi-year budget priorities are our education system, which we again invested this year's budget at a higher level than we did last year for our capital. So, I'm really proud of that, and we're going to continue that partnership with our Board of Education, which I'm excited about. But our water and sewer, Rome wasn't built in a day, and so the water and sewer is going to be a long-term strategy and a long-term goal. And I can tell you, as long as I'm on the board, and Chairman, you're more than welcome to speak up, but I think I know your position on this. We're going to continue to push those initiatives to deliver the clean, safe drinking water to all of our residents.
Let me drop this to the both of you, Mr. Devier and then Mr. Tyson. What do you see as the biggest challenges you face that needs to be fixed? But you're saying, like I said, some are long-term, Rome wasn't built in a day. What do you see some of the biggest challenges and maybe solutions to that, and maybe when it could happen? Chairman, you want to start on that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Commissioner Tyson. And I also, before I move off of the school piece, a part of the county's responsibility that a lot of people don't realize is that we also have a responsibility by statute, actually, to fund our local community college. And so that's something else this board has done over the last couple of years, is kind of made those needed investments from deferred maintenance, again, the same thing we saw in our public school system, as well as our new construction. So working with FTCC, such a gem in our community that really helps us drive and grow our workforce here in Cumberland County. But as far as the challenges that we face, I think it's always going to be that, we've got to stay focused and fund our priorities. We have been, as Commissioner Tyson highlighted, we've been behind in our investments in infrastructure and investments in our public schools. And so a lot of those are the backbone for how you grow a community. If we're going to lift ourselves out of tier one, and you hear people talk about that, you have to be able to recruit industry. You have to be able to grow residents in your community. And to do that, you have to have infrastructure. We are 10 to 15 years behind where we need to be. And the cost to do that is in the billions. And so we have to take this and start moving it forward and be very deliberate that this is a multi-year plan that we have to invest in. The same thing with our school systems, as well as with our community college systems. We have to make these investments, because if we're going to get people to move to Cumberland County and to stay in Cumberland County, you got to have good schools. Good schools create good communities, and you got to have the infrastructure in place, as well as investing in our public safety with our sheriff's office, as well as our mental health and our health and human services, to make sure we have the services that our citizens need when they're here. So it's really about making sure we stay committed to the investment that this community needs to make, and be very deliberate about how we do that and our commitment to it, while all trying to make sure that government continues to provide the services in a quality way, but keeping the tax rate as low as possible. So it is a balance every year, but you need people on this board and community leaders that will stay focused on those core things that matter to the families in our community.
Is there a number one service that's needed right now?
I mean, it's hard to really pin down one service. You know, we have a big need in our health and human services, but public safety is critical when you look at the safety and security of our citizens. But you've got to have clean, safe drinking water. You know, look at the contamination we have in our community. So I don't think a board can look at any one specific thing. We have to look at multiple things. But we have to stay focused on the foundational. And I mentioned those foundational issues. So we have to make sure we're moving in the direction on all 3 to 4 to 5 of those items consistently and not one at a time.
You help us, any add-on to that?
No, absolutely. And the chairman's right on point. A couple of things that I would kind of add to that as a caveat. We all know the effect the economy has on us personally. I mean, we see it at the gas pump, we see it in the grocery store, we see it on our utility bills, and government's not immune from that inflation as well. So, you know, really watching our expenditures, as the chairman said, and being, I like that word strategic, is important, because there's a lot that we would like to do, but you don't have but so much funding available to do it. And so we have seen, you know, an increase in expenditures in the county, and I talked about that during budget, but we're also seeing decrease in revenue, sales tax revenues down because of, you know, again, those economic pressures. So it's really, as the chairman said, it's really a balancing act. But I'll tell you, the one thing that I'm committed to, and I know the chairman is too, is our personnel. Because our greatest asset in this county is our employees that are sitting there day to day, the teachers in the classroom, the sheriff's deputies that are keeping us safe, you know, the social service department with the workers there, our public health. So, you know, as we look at certain pressures that we have from the outside that we can't control, as the chairman said, we got mandates that come down that change how we have to fund and shift. We have to make sure that we're making those personnel investments. And I'm really proud, you know, this year in this budget, we took a step to really address our recruitment and retention in our DSS department. And we actually created a program that helps to give Director Jackson some tools in her toolbox that she can use to really kind of help retain and keep those personnel here. We've done that similarly to our educators by increasing the supplement, so we have the highest local match supplement in our region. We've done it with our sheriff's department and our detention officers. So I'm really proud that we were also able to give Director Jackson that tool in her toolbox so that we can also have those effects across the county and across those personnel, because we got to keep the good people that we have here. That's important.
Absolutely, personnel.
Well, in serving District 2, you talk about different areas that you do serve, so let us hear about that as well. So what role does the public input play in the budget process? And you know, enlighten us about those different areas that you do serve on the District 2.
You know, and that's a really good question. So, you know, every year we start with we have our budget workshops and we have our pre-budget conference. We had a really good engagement this year with that. And so that comes organically from the commissioners going out in the community, hearing the needs, and then coming up and saying, hey, manager, as you're putting your budget together, please keep these things in mind. And our county manager did a great job of doing that. But then also, as he rolls out his recommended budget, we also have public meetings. We actually hosted 2 this year where the public can come in and give input and comment back. We did a morning and an evening session. And, you know, again, just like with the public comment period at our evening meeting, that's something that I take very seriously as well. And so, you know, it's just a matter of continuing to get that input and engagement. You're not going to be able to make every single person happy or every single person satisfied. I can tell you we didn't even make all 7 commissioners satisfied in the budget. But through the process, what you end up is an end result that's very fair, that really funds the priorities. It funds where we need to fund, and it reinforces this board's mission and vision to continue to move this community forward.
To either one of you.
And if I could Could I add one other thing on that? Just, and Commissioner Tyson hit it, nailed it in a lot of ways. The other public piece of this is we go out in the communities, and so our engagement team with our communications department set up town halls or coffee with commissioners for us to be able to get out into the community, go into the different, different parts of the community to hear from the residents. At those events, we were having 40 and 50 residents there. And we were hearing about their priorities, what's important to them. And that's another step. So not only having the public hearing side of it, which is the more official part of it, but a little bit more informal in the community. And the other thing that I'll say is, our commissioners that really, Commissioner Tyson said, everybody didn't get what they wanted. But what they did bring is everybody brings a different voice to that table, a different experience, a different, connection back to the community, and a different voice. And all of it was great discussion as we went through this. Everybody was respectful of the process, and we found common ground at the end in a unanimous vote for a budget.
Let me ask you this, and this to either one of you. For the ones, it's actually, I guess, a two-part question. For the maybe the commissioners that have served years ago, and now, how different is it now, sir, opposed to the 10 years ago, 15 years ago, may not even go that far back, because things evolve so much. The world changing, requirements changing. You said statutes changing. How different is it now having to serve as a commissioner opposed to a few years ago?
Well, I can't speak to the prior service of some of our folks, but I can tell you, I can imagine that the board evolves and changes just like our society has. Mm-hmm. And so you imagine getting into a car in the 1980s versus now, and the complexity that you have to operate that vehicle. And so government's not really any different. There's different service avenues. We weren't having a data center discussion, 10 years ago.
You're right.
And so, that's something that's kind of evolved. So you're always going to face new challenges. It doesn't mean that the previous generation didn't have their own set of unique challenges. And we certainly appreciate how they met some of those challenges and how they were able to address that. But I do think that the complexity of what you try to accomplish, just as the world has evolved and gotten more complex, so is addressing those issues as government.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So let's go to this question as well. Since I heard you use the word how excited you were about some of the things that are taking place. Well, what are you most proud of in the adopted budget? What are you most proud of in the adopted budget?
I was proud that we were able to increase our investment in education, that we were able to maintain our commitment to our water and sewer, that we were able to take care of our personnel. We had a structure where we did a COLA plus a bonus, and so we were able to meet the needs of the greatest asset that we have as their cost of living is going up, and kind of meet those challenges. But also continuing to invest in our public safety. We were able to do that. We were able to give our sheriff some tools to help with his long-term retention goals, which I think is where he said his need was, and so we heard that. And we were able to accomplish all that while at the same time maintaining a tax rate. And I don't want to underemphasize that, because last year we all felt, and when I say we, even the commissioners felt the effects of the reevaluation. And we understand that there was a really big, appreciable increase in what our real estate values were. And as we met that challenge, we did drop the tax rate. And as the chairman said, we went 6 cents below revenue neutral, which means
that's a big plus.
Cut.
Yes.
And so, setting the rate there was really a challenge. It was a bold challenge to our board and to county government to say, hey, we have got to make sure that we keep our residents in mind as they have all the obligations they have, and not impose any more obligation on them than what we absolutely have to. So I'm proud we were able to accomplish all that while not increasing the burden on our community.
Let me ask either one, thank you for that one. Let me ask either one of you, what's the biggest misconception between the responsibilities of the county versus the council, the city council. When we cross the lines, you know, the calls that you get, the complaints that you get, when is it a city responsibility versus a county
I'm
responsibility?
gonna let the chairman take this because he served on both boards.
He served on both boards, so
he has
help
that
me out with that.
experience
That's a loaded one, wide open there, but help me out with that one.
You know, I think our focus, whether you're on a city council or you're on county or even at the state level, and I've served on all three, you know, your focus is always about the citizens and ensuring that they are taken care of, whether it's a responsibility of the city, the county, or even state level. You know, quite frankly, you know, our residents and our community doesn't care who's responsible for it. They just care that it gets done. And they want to see, you know, they want to see those entities work together to take care of the people in our community. So I think, you know, there's a lot of confusion around who does what and where the lines are and how it works. But for what people care about is they just want to make sure if they're calling for an emergency or calling 911, they don't care who's picking up the phone. They just care that it happens. If they're getting clean, safe drinking water, whether it's in the county or in the city or in one of the towns, they just care that they're getting clean, safe, regulated drinking water. So I think it's our responsibility as elected officials at every level to ensure that we have seamless services, quality, high-level caliber services that we're providing to our residents. And we don't let egos or politics get in the way to ensure that delivery.
Commissioner Tyson, I guess you can better address this. I don't think we realize how blessed we are here in Cumberland County to have Commissioner Kirk Deviere that have served as a commissioner, as a city council, and at the state level, which brings in a wealth of information from all levels through experience. And you being a newly elected commissioner, how do you feed off that to help you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to also add his service to this country in the U.S. military.
Okay, so
the
not
US Army.
so the federal, state, and city. Is there anything left, Mr. Deviere? Help us out with that one.
To be a great husband and father.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Awesome.
We have to bring the family in one day to have them address that area for you. Help us out on that. How do you lean on that to help you with your decisions, Mr. Tyson?
Absolutely. Well, you know, our chairman brings a wealth of knowledge and information from all those sources, as you said. But I'll tell you something that I really feel like is one of the greatest assets our chairman has. And that is that he is fair, that he hears every voice, and he brings everybody to have a seat at the table.
Okay.
And I tell you, that hasn't always been the case. You know, it would be very easy for him to say, hey, you have this letter after your name, I have this letter after my name. Mm-hmm. I'm going to sit here and not deal with you. He's not like that. You know, he wants to sit down at the table, and he wants to be problem focused and problem forward on how do we find that solution to meeting that need. And I've really appreciated the fact that his willingness to be open to dialogue, but not only that, but he really shares leadership. And you know, that's something that takes a lot of trust and confidence in knowing. You know, he appoints all the liaisons. So I'm the fire commissioner of Cumberland County. He appoints me to that position. So the sheriff, the fire, all of that, I kind of liaison for that. Mm-hmm. And so I come back and I share with him. And so by him having that span of control, it allows his reach to be so much greater. And I'll tell you, if you look at any, you know, I like to say we're two or more are gathered, Kirk Deviere's there in their midst. Because if you look, he goes to every event that he's invited to that he feasibly can. And nobody can say that man's not engaged and involved in this community because he shows up. Awesome. And I think that's very important as the leadership of your board, that he is present and seen, and that he hears the community, and he does a great job at that.
That's terrific.
You've been listening to the 9 o'clock hour of Rise and Shine Cumberland County, and we've been blessed to have with us in-house the District 2 Commissioner, Mr. Henry Tyson, along with the Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Mr. Kirk Deviere. And we appreciate all of you taking time to come to be a part of this. Again, knowledge is power. And you take time to distinguish your roles and eradicate the different areas where there's misconceptions. So we appreciate that. It's been a wealth of knowledge shared. Again, we tell our listening community every second and fourth Wednesday at 9 a.m. Stay tuned, because we are bringing you great information from the commissioners that help us do what we do, is to know what's going on and be doing. Again, Mr. Tyson, thank you for being here. Mr. Curry, thank you for being by way of phone. And again, we bless God. Continue to stay tuned to WIDU, a radio station that's knowledge-based and issue-driven. It's already 10:02, and